Chicago Cubs baseball on WGN. Brought to you by Hurry Fresh Budweiser, who reminds you fresh beer tastes better. The Stars of Chicagoland, your local Chrysler Plymouth dealer. The Discover Card, proud partner of the Smithsonian's 150th anniversary. Pepsi, Generation Next. Montgomery Ward. Nissan, your local Nissan store reminds you to enjoy the ride. And by Southwest Airlines, with fares so low, you have the freedom to go places.
Tough right-handers, they don't get any tougher than Pedro Martinez.
Well, usually when the Cubs are here, it seems like they escape the wrath of Pedro Martinez, but in a 4-game series, chances are you're not going to be that fortunate.
And Steve Traxel going to the mound. He's 3-5, his ERA up over 4. He's got to pitch a tough and tight game today because the Cubs aren't scoring.
Yeah, the Cubs have to get that offense going. We're ready, and hopefully the Cubs are ready too. We'll find out what's going to happen coming up next. Then Brant Brown in left. Mark Grace again at first base. Sammy Sosa in the customary cleanup spot. Sean Dunston at shortstop. Then Dave Hansen at third. Ryan Sandberg had the 9-game hitting streak stopped yesterday, but he's still busting out all over here in June, hitting .448. Tyler Houston, the catcher, and Steve Traxel is on the mound.
And the defense for Felipe Alou's Montreal Expos. Rodriguez, Santangelo, and Orsulak in the outfield left to right. Strange, Grzelcyk, Lansing, and McGuire in the infield. And a battery of Darren Fletcher and Pedro Martinez. And his numbers are staggering. 85 strikeouts in 74 1/3 innings. He's only walked 16. Now, in years past, you could get to Martinez because his control would sometimes desert him. Not so this year, a 1.45 ERA.
And the big question, I suppose, for Montreal is, can they afford to keep this fella? He's making $3.5 million a year, and it will certainly command much more next year. Today's umpires, Gary Darling has the plate, Paul Schreiber, Charlie Relaford, and Jim Quick the rest of the way around. The financial foibles here in Montreal have been kind of a big story around baseball the last several years, Steve, and a $3.5 million salary that's already tops on this ball club. Felipe Alou has watched the Larry Walkers and the John Wetlands, etc., walk on out of here, either get traded or leave via free agency. On a scale of 1 to 10, what are the chances he's going to see Pedro Martinez here next year?
Well, Pedro's not a free agent, but he is arbitration eligible. And with his numbers this season, he's going to fall into the same range dollar-wise as probably Smoltz, Glavine, Maddox, and some of the better pitchers in the league. So you're looking at an arbitration loss if you don't want to deal with this man. And then after next year, he becomes a free agent. He'll be tough to keep.
Brian McRae to get it going for the Cubs today. And he is one guy that is not scared at all. They roll out those numbers about Pedro Martinez. Well, Brian McRae is 5 for his last 5 against his tough right-hander.
This is a different Pedro Martinez these days. He's got a lot more confidence. He has an outstanding straight change. And a lot of hitters haven't seen a whole lot of that.
Martinez not afraid to throw inside. In fact, in 1994 and 95, he led the league in a hit batsman, although that has kind of shrunk a little bit as well. They were calling him Senor Plunk in 1995. He's only hit 4 batters this year.
Well, you take a look out to the mound and you see Pedro Martinez. What you're seeing is the Dodgers equivalent to the Lou Brock trade. They traded Martinez for Delino DeShields back in '93 because they didn't think that Martinez could be a starter. All he is 56 and 33 lifetime in the big leagues.
Runs the count to 2 balls, 2 strikes. This is a guy, Pedro Martinez, who's averaged better than a strikeout per inning throughout his career. Count is full to Brian McRae.
Well, you got to figure now you're going to see a fastball, and you probably figure to see it away. If it's in the zone, Brian probably will be trying to take it up the middle.
That one was up. Brian hacking away anyway. The count stays 3 balls, 2 strikes.
Brian might be a little unhappy with his choice. That was ball 4 up and out of the zone, but you see what he's done against one of the toughest pitchers in baseball, and he's handled him very well. See how high that pitch is, and that is ball 4.
That is strike 3.
Well, I told you that Cubs haven't seen this brand new 1997 version of the straight change. But he's become a lot like Mario Soto, who used to pitch for the Cincinnati Reds, in that he can throw you 3 consecutive straight changes and you still can't wait for it.
Well, and that comparison will put a smile on the face of Martinez. Soto was his childhood hero growing up in the Dominican Republic. Well,
I'm not real happy with that at bat.
Grant Brown has a fastball blown by him. Well, the team has not scored a run in 19 innings, and the frustration certainly simmering. Grant Brown has ridden out the storm okay. 10 for his last 20 at bats. Grant's had that long home run in Philadelphia.
Well, you can tell how Pedro's trying to work him. He wants to stay up with the fastball to Brown, and he wants to keep that changeup when he throws it low and away, and we'll see what he has in mind here.
Whammo.
There it is. Another great changeup, low and away, perfect. And 2 up, 2 strikeouts.
Take another look.
Well, this is what's made Pedro Martinez the pitcher he is. The ability to just take something off, the same release point as the fastball, the same arm velocity of the fastball, so he doesn't tip off when it's coming.
Mark Grace has hit safely in 6 of his last 7 games. Punches one into left center field. That ball's going to drop and roll around. Mark Grace will roll around into second base, and the Cubs get their first hit after the 2 strikeouts.
Well, Mark Grace has always had good luck against Pedro Martinez, probably because he can wait on that changeup a little longer than most guys. This is a fastball down, and Mark just slices it into left center. Goes for a 2-base hit. The good news is that Sammy is the Cubs' leading run producer. The bad news is he really has very little luck against Pedro Martinez. In fact, the last 8 times he's faced him, Sammy's fanned 6 of them.
And this matchup here is really of the 2 marquee players from the Dominican Republic. Sammy with the big bat. Martinez with all that smoke.
Well, Sammy is hoping that Pedro gets a little careless with the fastball and gets it down to him, because you can handle it a little better. Pedro throws 94, 95 miles an hour. And if he throws low heat, Sammy has time to get the head of the bat on it. High heat's a different story.
There are the career numbers, 4 of 22.
Well, there's the slider, and Sammy missed that one by a foot or so. Now, he hasn't thrown many of those this first inning. He hasn't had to, but against Sosa, he feels that that's the old equalizer.
Cubs looking to break on top and break out with their first run in this series. Shutout back-to-back games, complete game efforts for Bollinger and Perez. Down goes Sammy. Wow. Hard fastball up around his neck. And Martinez strikes out the side. We'll see Steve Traxel on the mound coming up in just a moment. Out there, it's F.P. Santangelo on top of the order, and as always seems to do very well against the Cubs. Mike Lansing, Mark Grudzielanek, Darren Fletcher, native of the Chicago area. Then it's Rodriguez, Strange, and Orsulak, Ryan McGuire, and Pedro Martinez.
The Pepsi defense for Jim Riggleman, Brown, McRae, and Sosa left to right, Hansen, Dunston, Sandberg, and Grace, and a battery of Traxel and Houston.
There you see Steve Traxel with that 3-5 record. But look at that, 3-0 in 6 career starts against the Expos. F.P. Santangelo takes a look at a strike, and F.P. getting the 2 home runs yesterday. One is a righty, one is a lefty. Only the 3rd Expo ever to do that. One of them the former Cub, Brett Barber. Santangelo as the leadoff hitter and in center field today. And that's just the way he likes it. This is a guy that, for the most part, is kind of a part-time player. But now with the injuries, he's getting a chance. He's in his favorite spot in the order, and he's playing his favorite position today.
I'll tell you what he is going to do, as the appeal is in vain. If they do decide indeed to follow through on what we've heard rumored, and that is Lansing to the New York Yankees, Felipe Alou has already said, we've got a couple of talented youngsters in the minor leagues, but Santangelo will be my second baseman if we trade Lansing. So he's got a lot of confidence in FP Santangelo. He calls him the best guy he's ever seen at playing all three outfield positions. And he certainly is a handy man to have around.
2-2 from Traxel. Belted but foul. Well, Santangelo, a guy who was a one-time 20th round draft pick, but he was fourth in the voting for Rookie of the Year last year. And that's at the age of 29. I mean, it took him a while to get up there and get noticed.
If you're small, Josh, in this game, you're suspect until you have an opportunity. And that's why it took FP Santangelo so long to get here. You knew him in AAA. He spent a lot of time in the minor leagues, but he plays like he never wants to go back.
1,600 minor league at bats, so word up. And he's called out here. He can't believe it. Gary Darling says that's strike 3, and Santangelo threw the bat, and he might get thrown himself here if he's not careful.
Well, they can ill afford to lose Santangelo because they're getting down to the bare bones. Watch it again. Santangelo thought it was low and away, and I think he's right. But Gary Darling thought it was good enough.
I like Gary Darling's opinion of it. I don't think Santangelo does that much.
Well, he was not very happy with that call, but that's a good break and a good way to start.
Mike Lansing takes a rip. Every out in the game so far has been on a strikeout. This is a guy that makes some contact, though, Mike Lansing. Expos clubhouse leader. And I think, again, like Santangelo, Steve, kind of personifies what Felipe Alou is all about. Likes these guys to go out there and leave it all out there on the field. Just let it all hang out.
And he's a product of an independent team in Miami. That's how the Expos got him.
Stroked into left center. Finds the seam, and Lansing is going to find second base.
A double is really no surprise for a team that leads the major leagues in doubles. So Mike Lansing gets one up and out over the strike zone from Steve Traxel and drills it into the gap. So like the Cubs, they get a first inning double. Unfortunately, the Cubs came with 2 outs, and there's just 1 out here. And Josh, you got to watch Grudzielanek on the first pitch. He's a dead high fastball hitter on the first pitch, and he likes to take it to right center field.
Now you look for and maybe hope for Traxel to come with that splitter, which has been dynamite the last few times out. Popped up. And Mark Grace will take it. The runner has to hang at second base.
Well, that's the easiest way to get out a first pitch swinger, is throw him an off-speed breaking ball, and you don't have any problems.
So now the inning left up to the Chicago native Darren Fletcher, graduate of Oakwood High School and then the University of Illinois. And he is still a huge Illini fan, so if you want to relive those Lou Tepper glory years, Fletcher is all ears about the Fighting Illini. Fletcher, a guy whose career high in home runs is 12, got that last year. Stoney, he's sitting on 10 already.
Well, he's always been a dead pull hitter, and with that in mind, the Cubs over shifting on him with Dunston playing him up the middle, and this year he's shown surprising power.
Only one catcher in the National League has more home runs than Fletcher. And that's Todd Hundley. Speaking of surprising power, how about Tony Gwynn? He's got 10 home runs now.
Plus he's hitting over 400, which is not too bad. But at the end, when everybody starts to fall, Tony will still be in the 380s, probably 375, somewhere along there, and win another batting title.
Runner at second, 2 down. We're scoreless. Colorado's got the early lead on Florida today, 3-0. They're going to play 2 as it turns out today. They wanted to do that yesterday, but the first game of the scheduled doubleheader was delayed for 2.5 hours in the middle. They had tornado warnings and all kinds of weird stuff going on. High stop by Tyler Houston. 3 balls, 1 strike now to Fletcher.
Well, you got to be careful here, even though you have Henry Rodriguez in the on-deck circle, and he's always pretty tough. Fletcher now will be trying to pull the ball. If Traxel stays away with a good low fastball or a splitter, he's going to get a ground ball to the right side. But you want to stay away from this guy.
Fletcher does have 2 career home runs against Steve Traxel and not that many at bats. Nice pitch. Steve Traxel gets back now to 3-2.
Fletcher looking fastball all the way, and he didn't get it. But that's what he's done against Traxel career-wise.
Game 3 of a 4-game series up here in Montreal.
And when you have Pedro Martinez as your pitching opponent, every time you get one of the guys in scoring position, you have to snuff out the rally, because Pedro's not going to give up too much. Even if you beat him, you got to beat him very close in a low-scoring game.
In the air, well struck. Grant Brown. Oh, Grant Brown! What a play! And that doesn't tickle sliding on the carpet here, but Grant Brown, you have made everybody's highlight reel, and you saved Steve Traxel for now.
What an effort this is by Grant Brown. Full extension, making the catch, and holding onto the ball when he hits the turf. That's the key to the play. What an effort.
Fantastic, and we stay scoreless. Well, Grant Brown is still learning how to play left field. I say he's a quick study, Steve. What a catch he made.
I didn't think he'd ever be able to close on this, and he wouldn't have except for that full out extension. Now, he probably came away with a rug burn, and I'm sure that that left hand is smarting some, but that definitely is a highlight reel performance.
I mean, he was horizontal when he caught that ball, diving towards the track. And did he get a hero's welcome when he got back in there? But I think you're right about that rug burn. Here we go with the second inning. Sean Dunston to lead it off. Grant Brown, known for his defense throughout the minor leagues. And there's a base hit for Dunston. Sean continues to heat it up. He's now up and over the 300 mark again.
Well, here's where Dunston has to run, because this team is very vulnerable in that department, and Sean has been very good in that department. In fact, he's been the Cubs' best. So the Expos will give you the stolen base more times than not. They've only thrown out 8 base runners all year long.
That's incredible. There it is. Worst in the majors. Wow, 78 stolen bases against. And Sean with that great percentage. In fact, going back to last year, you can make him 21 out of his last 22 tries. Stay is put for now as Hansen swings through.
Well, normally this would be a pretty good pitch for a pitch out. Let's see what Felipe Alou has in mind. You don't see a lot of running 0-1 because it is such a good pitch out pitch.
Ball and a strike now to Hansen, who had a huge game in his last start. Had that 3-run home run in Philadelphia. Part of a 3-for-3 night. Came into that game with 3 runs batted in all year, and he left with 7 on a 4 RBI night. Little squibber. Martinez with only 1 play, and he gets it to first base.
Let's take a look at last night. F.P. Santangelo scoring from second on a base hit by Lansing. And the odd part about this play was that the Cubs had 2 people hurt on it somewhat. Now you see service, and what happened was Jim Quick, the home plate umpire, made the safe sign and hit Terry Mulholland in the head with his mask. When he realized he had decked Mulholland, he flipped the mask up in the air and it came down right on the head of Scott Service. So he got the whole battery with his mask in one fell swoop.
I don't mean this is derisive laughter. I mean, that's just, and that's Keystone Cops material there.
Well, the Cubs on the verge of breaking through for the first time. It's been a scoreless Montreal, and we're in the 3rd game.
Well, and recently few have done it better than Ryan Sandberg. Take a look at this again. Jim Quick has the mask here, and with his left hand he's going to go back and clonk Mulholland.
And you see, and then the mask comes out and hits Scott on the head. What a play.
Sean breaking for third, but the pitch belted foul back at us.
And that's the kind of breaks the Cubs have gotten. Dunston would have stolen third easily. Martinez takes a long time to deliver the ball, but Rhino, already down a strike, couldn't take it, and he fouled it straight back.
Boy, if you wanted a freeze frame of the Cubs' luck this season, I would say that mask incident from yesterday probably sums it up pretty well.
Especially when the play ended, you had Service down at the plate. You had Mulholland down right on the carpet by the plate. All from Jim Quick.
And a run in just to kind of put lemon juice in the paper cut there. Down the middle, strike 3 call.
Well, take a look at the knees of Rhino on this one, and that shows you how sharp the breaking ball is for Pedro Martinez. Rhino's down 0-2. Look at this breaking ball. It buckles the knees of Sandberg, and it's right down the middle. And there's not many people in this league that hit that one.
Martinez in his last start struck out 12. And he lost because he was facing Bobby Jones, and it's in the manifest. If he's facing Bobby Jones, he must lose. There's only 2 losses this year against the same guy. Houston up there, and let's quickly pause for station identification.
This is America's #1 sports station, WGN-TV, Chicago.
In Montreal, Josh Lewin with Steve Stone. Cubs trying to break on top, but they've got Dunston withering out there at second base. Martinez still throwing smoke.
Well, with first base open, you'd figure that he'd be trying to get out Tyler Houston out of the strike zone. Now he's ahead 0-2. He's likely to go out of the strike zone again to try to retire him.
5 strikeouts now for Pedro Martinez. The guy is pretty good. And we stay scoreless heading to the bottom of the 2nd at Olympic Stadium.
Vine Line makes a great gift for any occasion. Call 773-404-CUBS and receive a name and lights photo with a 2-year order. Vine Line.
It's the next best thing to knowing the manager.
Field is MasterCard, Ticketmaster, and the Cubs team up to give you this chance of a lifetime. Purchase Cub tickets with your MasterCard at 312-831-CUBS or on the internet at www.ticketmaster.com during May and June, and you're automatically entered to win one-of-a-kind prizes. Of course, you have missed May already.
But hey, don't forget, you've got the Milwaukee Brewers coming in, the Battle of the Border, next weekend. After the Mets are in town Tuesday and Wednesday, Harry's back in the booth as the Cubs and Mets go at it Tuesday night, June 10th. Foul ball by Rodriguez. Nice scoop over there, my man.
Steve Traxel has given up 11 home runs. That's second on the staff behind Kevin Foster. Traxel's been throwing the ball very well lately.
Three runs allowed in his last 21 innings. Make it 22 now, saved by Brant Brown in that bottom of the first. He got the left wrist wrapped up now.
It's been tough enough for Brant to get in the lineup and stay there. He's not going to come out with a rug burn.
Big rip, and down goes Rodriguez. He's second in the league in strikeouts to Ron Gant. And good to see Traxel blowing him away. Last time in Chicago, Rodriguez hit 2 home runs against him.
Well, if you get ahead of Henry, you can throw the high fastball right by him because he swings at it most every time, and that's exactly where Tyler Houston gave the target, and that's what Traxel did. A good 0-2 pitch.
Doug Strange up there. Stoney, I thought you made a great point in the pregame show. Strange making the most of very limited opportunities. 23 driven in only 41 games.
Well, the list of very impressive starters on the disabled list or not available in the case of Rondell White from hamstring problems has been chronicled in this series. But it's even more impressive what the Expos are doing without those 4 guys.
Jim Riggleman's team 7 games out now in the Central. Strike called to Strange, and that'll do it for him. But Traxel has struck out 3.
Well, I think Gary Darling is telling the hitters that he's going to give them 2 or 3 inches outside, and they best look out there. There's the 2 or 3 inches outside, and now hitters in both dugouts know that they're going to have to go there and get it, because it's going to be called most likely all day.
Well, this Expos team 31-28, which would give them first place in the Central. But in the East, that gives them 4th place. They are 9.5 out. Philly is 20.5 games out now. They're on a pace to finish 60 behind Atlanta. Joe Orsulak getting a chance again with all the injury problems the Expos are having. The veteran, known of course for his days in Pittsburgh, making that last out against Sutcliffe. Skies this one. Will it stay in play? Dave Hansen makes sure that it does. Nice job by the Cub third baseman, and that's the inning. Traxel having a nice time of it. And we have now played 2 in Montreal. No score. Martinez does something very well that Steve Traxel did superbly all of last year. That's pitch out of trouble. Get a guy at first to lead off an inning, or in Traxel's case last year, it seemed like when there were runners in scoring position, he just kind of shrugged his shoulders and said, well, big deal. We'll take care of it. That's not been the case much of this year for Traxel, but it has been for Pedro Martinez. Now a chance for Brant Brown, batting for the first time since that memorable diving catch in left field. Slices that one to the net. Brownie 10 for his last 21 at bats. Get to the Nissan trivia question. The last Cub to hit home runs in consecutive pinch hit appearances. That's a great question. Big rip.
I'll say Darren Jackson.
Who are you saying, Jackson?
Darren Jackson.
Let me see the names again, please. I guess I'll go Dwight Smith. Up and in to Brant Brown, on the count 2 balls 2 strikes.
Just about the time you start leaning over the plate looking for that off-speed pitch away, That's what Pedro will do. Put it right up under your chin. The walk to Traxel somewhat surprising. That's only the 17th walk in now just under 77 innings. And for a man that throws as hard as Pedro Martinez, that's exceptional control.
Two and two the count. And Brown down on strikes for the second time. 6 strikeouts for Pedro Martinez already. His career best is 12, which he matched just last time out.
Well, after you see that high inside gas, now you see a changeup with the same exact motion, and you just can't wait for it. It's phenomenally deceptive.
Now here's Grace, who went after the first pitch and smoked a double in the first inning. Almost did it again. Colorado's opened it up to 5-0 on Florida now in the third. Mets in Cincinnati a little bit later as Bobby Jones looks to get to 11-2. The Cubs get a break, Steve. They won't see Bobby Jones in that brief series coming up at Wrigley.
As long as it doesn't rain in Cincinnati, all goes well.
You've got Atlanta and San Francisco facing off today. John Smoltz and the surprising Sean Estes, who's 8-2. Grace out in front. Well, the Reds suddenly have won 3 straight. They got 8 extra base hits yesterday, beat up on the Mets 10-5. Meantime, the Cubs have lost 3 straight, trying to turn it around in Montreal.
Pretty good check of the swing by Mark Grace. If he's going to see that changeup away on this pitch, and that's been the MO of Martinez, Mark should think about just dumping it into left field. You have to wait back a while against Martinez. I think Pedro thought Steve Traxel was Ricky Henderson.
There's only about 1,000 bags away from that. Grace swiveling out of the way, and the count 3 balls, 2 strikes, and now Traxel will get going.
And the Cubs get a break because the count went to 3-2, and Traxel can score on a double now.
Cubs looking for their first run in this series. Got to give a little bit of credit to the Expos pitchers. Complete game shutouts. The Cubs haven't had that happen to them since 1984. That's phenomenal. And it was at Wrigley, of all places, too. June of '84. Back-to-back complete game shutouts tossed against them. And the Cubs get a 2-out base runner. That'll bump Traxel to second. Mark Grace has been on base twice against the league's leading ERA man, Mr. Martinez.
Sammy's had a tough go of late. 1 for his last 13, but he has a chance once again to put the Cubs on the board with 2 men on. And the outfield playing straight away and very deep for him.
Oh, this is just a great mano-a-mano matchup here. You've got the heat of Martinez, Sosa, of course, with those 14 home runs. 2 battlers from the Dominican going at it.
That one looked like it might have hooked around the plate. I think Sammy was a little surprised, number 1 by the late call and number 2 by the strike call.
Sammy struck out in the first inning, and Steve gave you the stat that I think bears repeating. He's now struck out 7 of the last 9 times he's faced Pedro Martinez. Quickly 2 strikes to Sammy. Boy, the 14 home runs, 45 driven in.
Now Pedro has a choice. He can go up and out of the strike zone with a fastball, which he will do 0-2 quite a bit, or throw that same breaking ball he just threw out of the zone.
Down the middle. And Pedro Martinez has struck out 7. He continues to have Sosa's number. The Cubs' number continues to be 0 here in Montreal. We'll be back. Battle of the Border. And I guess it was as recently as what, probably 1991 or so that they would play those exhibition games, the Brewers and the Cubs, but now they count. That's going to be fun.
So are the next 3 following that against the Sox at Comiskey.
Ryan McGuire to lead off. You excited about that, going to Comiskey? And I mean, you've played at that, well, not that particular Comiskey, but
I played at the old one.
You've been a Southsider.
One that's a parking lot now.
It'll be interesting to see how full that parking lot gets Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and how many Cub bumper stickers are in that parking lot.
McGuire doesn't have much power. He's a spray hitter. He's shown in this series that he can make pretty good contact. And he got called up when David Segui was operated, and along with Vladimir Guerrero, Rondell White, and Shane Andrews, it's 4 big bats and a lot of offense lost to this lineup.
This McGuire has, what, 23 fewer home runs than the other. First base McGuire, well, that guy, and Griffey.
And a rumor in the paper today is the St. Louis Cardinals interested in Mark McGuire.
Loved by Grace to Traxel covering. Nicely done.
Cub fans, entertain your group in the finest seats in the park this summer. Rent a Wrigley Field mezzanine suite. With accommodations for groups of 15 to 55, Cubs suites provide the perfect setting for your next outing. So for more information, call the Cubs at 773-404-4200.
You and Harry ever do a game from in one of those babies?
As a matter of fact, we did.
Pretty nice?
It was very nice. It was catered exceptionally well, and it's a great view. And we had a good time up there.
On the scoreboard, Oakland is leading Toronto 7-0 in the 4th. And you wonder if Mr. McGuire is in the middle of that. Pedro Martinez ends up with a base hit. Slowed down by Traxel, but Pedro Martinez gets his 3rd hit of the season in 26 tries.
I'm glad that Steve was able to get the glove up. This one was hit right back at him. It's a rocket, and Traxel gets the glove up. Wasn't going to hit him, but he deflects it enough and pushes it by Sean Dunston on into center field. Well, we saw Carlos Perez last night lay down a perfect bunt with a man at second and only 1 out, and that probably turned the game around. I thought it was the biggest play of the game at the time. And Bullinger has a hit in this series, so the Expo pitchers have hit very well.
Top of the order, F.P. Santangelo, who did in the Cubs yesterday. There's the bunt, and a good one. Everybody's safe.
Well, that's probably going to go as an error. They might be giving Santangelo a sacrifice. We'll have to see. It certainly should have been fielded. It's a good bunt, but if you pick it up, it does go as an error.
Sacrifice and an error.
And an error.
Who boy, because that brings up Mike Lansing, who ripped a double last time up. Just 1 out. You're looking, hoping for a double play. Lansing has hit into only 3 of them. We talked about Lansing emerging as a leader on this Expos team, but you got to think there's a good chance the Expos are maybe going to lose him before too long. Both he and Pedro Martinez are represented by the same agent. It's the agent that handles Moises Alou and Mel Rojas. Both those guys left Felipe Alou.
Could that be Jim Bronner and Bob Gilhooly? I know those fellows well.
Well, can you put in a word to maybe steer Lansing to our side? Or
he's not going to be a free agent quite yet, but he is getting up to the salary level where it starts to be uncomfortably high as far as the Expos are concerned.
Plus the Cubs have a second baseman right now who's starting to swing the bat real well. Lansing, though, is I guess he's turning 29. So he's got plenty of years left to keep swinging the way he's swinging.
Well, you have to watch the fastball here. If you throw the fastball, keep it away from Lansing. He's a high ball hitter and a dead fastball hitter, and more times than not a pull hitter.
On the corner, nice job by Traxel, 2-1.
That was a very good pitch.
We touched on it earlier. Last year, nobody in all of baseball was tougher in this situation than Steve Traxel, having a runner in scoring position. Traxel had the lowest batting average of any pitcher. That was last year. This year it's been a little bit more of a struggle as he tries to find that all-star form again.
Well, with a couple of other base runners on, you would think that maybe Felipe Alou would send them. But I'm not sure if he's going to with Pedro at second base. There's a man who normally is a very aggressive manager, but most of his speed guys are out. So the team is really lacking in stolen bases this year.
Runners staying put, but not for long. They'll get bumped along on the walk. Bases loaded now for Mark Gruzzolani.
Bad time for your first walk of the game. And here comes Phil Regan. He wants to have a chat with Steve Traxel.
Well, Phil goes out there. Let's see if we can get that Nissan trivia question answered. The last Cub to hit homers in consecutive pinch hit appearances. That's all you, Mr. Stone.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Gruzzolani is grounded into 5 double plays. Despite the fact that he is an exceptional hitter, if you get the ball on the ground, you can get out of the inning. And the way Pedro Martinez is throwing, this could be the critical inning of the game for Steve Traxel.
He's a guy that can get on top of a high fastball too, and this is a different stance than what he had when he was coming up in the minor leagues. Much more erect. It makes him easier for a chance to get up on those high pitches. That one down and outside, 1-0.
They're playing Gruzzolani as an opposite field hitter. That's why you don't want to throw any slow stuff inside. Brant Brown is way off the line in left center, and Brian McRae is a few steps into right center, and there you look at the defense. You don't want Gruzzolani pulling it in this situation.
Oh, he did pull that one, but it ends up foul.
If that goes into the corner, everybody scores. Gruzzolani is a contact man with only 24 strikeouts in 239 at bats.
Scoreless for now. Each pitcher working on a 2-hitter. There have been 10 strikeouts in this game already. 7 by Martinez, 3 by Traxel. Scooped away by Houston. 2-1.
Good pickup by Tyler Houston.
Traxel last time out, a hard luck loser. Had the Pirates at home. Gave up only 2 runs in 8 innings, walked none, struck out 7, but he lost the game 3-1. Slap to right, base hit. 1 run in, and that's it for now. Boy, Grace fortunate that that ball was lobbed off of Mark Grace. Otherwise, that little lob is down the line.
RBI 22 for one of the tough hitters in this lineup. He gets a fastball, he inside outs it. Pedro scores, and on the relay, Grzelcyk turns the bag wide, and the ball bounces off him on the Grace toss. Still bases loaded. The Cubs trail now by 1, and another tough hitter, Darren Fletcher, steps up.
Cubs got a real break as the ball banged off of Grzelcyk as Grace tried to lob it over there. If that ball got by him, between his legs, what have you, at least another run comes in. Fletcher ahead in the count, 1-0. This guy with 6 home runs in his last 16 ball games. Shaves the corner. Traxel gets a strike. Fletcher has become a very tough out this year. Wow, Randy Johnson threw 5, a no-hitter going with 9 strikeouts. We'll keep you posted. That young Tiger team, a very aggressive swinging team. Remember, Roger Clemens struck out 20 at Tiger Stadium last year. And the way the big unit has been getting it done lately, I don't know if that no-hitter will stay, but you can put some money down that he'll have a pretty good afternoon.
Every time Randy Johnson goes to the mound, he's got no-hit stuff. The question is, can he throw it in the strike zone? If he does, he's almost impossible to beat.
No hits right now sounds like a mighty good idea. Let's see if Traxel can go get Darren Fletcher.
Well, they're trying to position the defense, and I think they wanted to bring Sammy in a little bit. That's somewhat surprising with a man with the power of Darren Fletcher. But the charts obviously say when he hits line drives, he hits them approximately where Sammy's at. You see the way they set up the defense against Darren Fletcher.
Fletcher not a guy who moves very well at all, and he does seem to yank the ball to right. You stay away from him, and the count 2 balls, 2 strikes.
And despite the fact that Fletcher doesn't run well, he's only grounded into 1 double play this year.
It's the advantage of being a left-handed hitter. Get that extra step flying out of the box. Fletcher is a guy, though, that in more than 650 games in the major leagues has never stolen a base. Bases loaded. And he got him. Steve Traxel finds a way to retire a guy who has haunted him in the past. That's the 2nd out.
This is a big strikeout by Traxel. He takes something off that forkball, and he has Fletcher, a tough man to strike out, well ahead of it. Good effort by Steve. He's 1 out away from getting out of this inning and saving a lot of damage.
Henry Rodriguez, a guy who's not only hitting a lot of long home runs, but he's batting .317. This guy's a career .257 hitter, and he's 60 points above that this year. The home run totals, you know, are going to be there, but he's also going to strike out a lot, and Traxel got him back in the 2nd inning. One ball, 1 strike. Rodriguez and Sammy Sosa both among the National League leaders in extra base hits. Santangelo is the runner at 3rd. There are the other guys behind him, Lansing and Grzelcyk. 1-1 is patched into center. McRae on the move. He's got it. And the Cubs slither out of it. Just one run allowed, and we'll play the fourth. The Cubs still looking for their first run in this series. 1-0 Expos. Ball game. It could have been worse in that bottom of the third. Traxel did a nice job to get out of it. He had the big strikeout of Darren Fletcher. Now here's Dunston.
So a look at Jim Bullinger as the inning opened up, along with Carlos Perez. Back-to-back shutouts, and Martinez working on one here.
The appeal. Yep, he went around, says Paul Schreiber. Dunston down on strikes and make it 8 strikeouts now for Pedro Martinez through 3 1/3.
We hope to get Dunston on because the one thing Martinez gives you is a stolen base. Unfortunately, it doesn't work out that way. And there are the 8 Ks, and it's still very early in this one.
Now Hansen. Well, 30 strikeouts in one game is a record. And so far today, what do we got? A dozen? On a pace. Gary Darling showed early in this game that he was going to be rather forgiving on the corners. Guy's been up there swinging.
This is one of the best control pitchers in the league, and he's having some uncharacteristic bouts of wildness. Cubs are still trying to take advantage of it.
Comes back from 3-0 to get to within 3 balls, 2 strikes. Pedro Martinez last year had a career best. He had 222 strikeouts, and he's on a pace for about 240 this year.
Well, if he throws a straight change here, it's close to unhittable. The question is, can he put it in the zone?
Yep. This is phenomenal. 9 strikeouts for Pedro Martinez of the 11 outs that he's recorded.
Hansen just frozen up there. It's a fastball. It's on the corner. We told you that Gary Darling's been just a little generous on that outside corner, and the pitchers are going to stay there. The hitters at best look out there and try to fight that ball off if they can't put it in play.
Well, they're going to run out of K's out there before too long, or run out of room. That one right there at the shins of Sandberg.
That curveball is reminiscent of Dennis Martinez up here in Montreal in his heyday with the Expos. He would just freeze you all game long with a very quick, sharp breaking curve, and that's what Martinez has today.
Well, whether it's Dennis Martinez or Pedro Martinez, the Cubs still looking to scratch something out of here. They've been 2 hit to this point, but they're only down 1-0.
Man you were looking at, Felipe Alou, is one of the league's best. Now, granted, in-game strategy, Felipe is very good, but his genius comes in handling his players in that locker room. He gets the most out of all of them. Certainly, being Dominican, he can relate to his Dominican players, but he squeezes every bit of ability out of every one of the guys on this team.
This one popped foul. That'll get out of play.
And an example of just how far he will go if he has a pitcher and he's not very happy with pitch selection, like Carlos Perez. He'll call probably 60 to 70% of the pitches for Carlos Perez. Takes a lot of the thought process out, but Felipe, with a great feel for the game, truly one of the game's great managers.
Down goes Sandberg, and it's a 10 strikeout day for Pedro Martinez. That's phenomenal by itself, but the fact that we're in the 4th inning makes it worthwhile to hang around and see just how special this.
Like a group outing to Wrigley Field. Choose from preferred seating, pregame party facilities, Cubs dollars, and much more. For more information, call 773-404-CUBS.
At Olympic Stadium, where the Expos have a slim 1-0 lead, but the story so far has been the artistry of Pedro Martinez with 10 strikeouts. That guy is calling his contact for more caves. I think they're running out.
Well, you've heard about leaving your heart in San Francisco, I'm sure. And I'm not going to break into song, but quite obviously the Cubs have left their bats in Philadelphia. Because they have done nothing here in Montreal.
Well, maybe we can send that along to Tony Bennett. Maybe he'll turn that into something. Give you a little royalty. That would be sweet.
Sure.
Well, since that home run, that 3-run home run by Mike Lieberthal in the bottom of the 9th in Philly, it's been nothing doing. They had a scoreless 10th inning, did the Cubs, that night. 9 scoreless innings yesterday, 9 scoreless innings the day before that. 4 more scoreless innings today.
It's part of the brain trust of the Cubs. Riggs with Dan Radisson and Mako Olivares trying to find some way to push anything across here in Montreal.
Well, Traxel, meantime, has been very good today, too.
Well, I talked with Steve coming out today, and he felt that he would have to pitch one of his better games to stay in this one, and of course that's the way it's turned out.
Traxel has seemed to draw the other team's ace quite a bit this year, and 3 wins this year. For the most part, the Cubs have helped him out with a lot of run support in those wins. He's lost a lot of 3-1 games, 2-1 type games.
And unfortunately, Mel Rojas has picked 3 of Traxel's games to blow the save.
Yeah, Traxel with that ERA of 4.66, which is pretty close to where the team ERA is. So actually the Cubs down to 4.05 at this point. They've been getting very good pitching the last few weeks. And Strange down on strikes. So Steve Traxel says, I know Pedro Martinez is getting the headlines here, but look, I got a few strikeouts too.
That forkball, a pretty good one, and Steve Traxel throwing it real well today. This one just sinking out of sight, and Doug Strange twice has gone down on strikes. Once looking, once swinging.
Joe Orsulak fouled out in the 2nd inning. Dave Hansen went near the stands to go get it. Well, look at the break on that one. Traxel ahead 0-1. Cubs will have up Houston, Traxel, and McRae in the 5th inning.
And the only 2 men that Pedro Martinez hasn't fanned through 4 innings is Mark Grace, who you'd expect, and Steve Traxel, who he walked.
Heading up the middle, but Dunston flags it down. However, it bounces by Grace, and it'll be an infield hit.
Well, fortunately, it didn't hop into the dugout. It hit the screen there and bounced back. There was no way that Orsulak was going to try for second base because Tyler Houston was hustling. That's a good effort by Dunston, but he's so off balance that he can't really get the throw near Mark Grace. And it goes as another hit. Good effort on this part, but it would have been a remarkable effort had he gotten him out.
He tried a whirling Concepcion thing there, trying to skip it over to first. Here's Ryan McGuire 0 for 1. 1-0 Montreal. We're playing the last of the 4th. McGuire, a UCLA product, was hitting close to 300 down at AAA, and as Steve mentioned in his last at bat, he's up here because David Segui is hurt. right at the knees for a strike. Cubs beat Montreal twice in Wrigley earlier this year. They're 2-0 back home, but they've gone 0-4 at this stadium this year.
Really no surprise that the Cubs would have problems here, because even though the Expos had lost 5 of the previous 7 games they played before the Cubs came in, since July 14th of last year, this Expo team has won 2 out of every 3 games played here at Olympic Stadium, so they're always very tough here.
Well, it's kind of a hard ballpark to get accustomed to when you're coming here, especially from home, I would think. But you've got the sight lines aren't really that great. You've got the odd ambiance. It just doesn't sound right in here sometimes, you know.
Well, you're usually not distracted by too much crowd noise. That should be an advantage.
You've got that public address system jacked up. Every time a pitcher throws to first, they have a chicken cluck over the loudspeaker. Not a real chicken. I think it's just a recording, but Rick Sutcliffe tells the story about a time up here that he almost wore that recording out. He said in his sleep he was hearing that chicken because he had a tendency to throw to first a little bit.
That one was sliced into the Cub dugout, and everybody okay in there? Marco Olivares has the souvenir, sitting next to the fine Cub trainer Dave Tumbas.
On 1-2. Yeah, Grant Brown getting that fan club going, and he had to please that fan club today with that catch he made to rob Darren Fletcher in the first inning. That's why the wrist is all taped up now. He left some of the skin out there in left field.
Good time for the forkball away to McGuire. He's still an over-anxious rookie, and he'll probably swing at something out of the zone.
2 balls, 2 strikes. Next is Pedro Martinez, and he's been Mr. Everything today. He has singled and scored the 1 Expo run. He's on a pace for a baseball strikeout record at this point.
I think Steve Traxel feels that if he can hypnotize McGuire by working as slowly as possible, it will help him in this at bat.
Sosa on the run, makes a great play.
That ball was crushed, and Steve Traxel is getting some outstanding outfield defense. All 3 outfielders, Brown, McRae, and now Sosa, have made fine plays. And that would have been a run had Sammy not flagged it down. But he got a good jump, he tracked it all the way, and he made the catch. McGuire hit that ball right on the button.
Well, got to work on that hypnosis a little bit. Pedro Martinez last year led the National League in sacrifices, but not a sacrifice situation here. He'll be swinging away. Guy that can work the count, a guy that can bunt. Oh, and he can pitch a little bit too. Off the end of the bat. Sandberg's got to play it on a bounce, and he'll get his man. So nothing doing despite the 1 hit. And Pedro Martinez will be facing Houston, Traxel, and McRae as we play the 5th. He's got 10 strikeouts already.
Chicago Cubs baseball on WGN.
Scoreless streak has run to 25 straight innings, including the last 3 in Philadelphia.
That's not a good mix. You got a pitcher in Pedro Martinez who's been doing that all day. And a Cub offense, it's been, quite honestly, Steve, kind of shell-shocked ever since coming out of Philly.
Well, they say, Josh, that there's not a whole lot of carryover, but that was a very, very tough loss. And I'm sure going out against these pitchers, it's not on their mind what happened 4 days ago, but that took a lot out of the ball club. They thought they had the game won, an 8-4 lead, 8-5 with 2 outs in the 9th. It didn't work out that way. And the Cubs have been scoreless ever since.
1-2 the count to Tyler Houston. Wow. 11 strikeouts for Pedro Martinez of the 13 outs that he's gotten in the game.
Well, I told Steve Traxel coming in that he should bunt on Martinez. Let's see if he does it, because nobody's making any contact. It's another changeup. It's in a perfect spot. And Doug Strange even with the bag at third. But Traxel and Grace, the only 2 Cubs who have not fanned today. Didn't look like a bunt, did it?
Nope, not much. If you're wondering, the all-time Expo record for strikeouts in a game, Bill Gullickson, he did it against the Cubs back in 1980, 18 of them. At the knees, quickly 2 strikes. You know, last year it was Jeff Facero had a 14 strikeout game against the Cubs. So Expos pitchers, they've been locking up the Cubs for a while.
Well, I think this is going to be number 12. He throws that slider. Well, he threw it and just missed with it because it was unhittable.
Pedro Martinez. 12 strikeouts in 4 2/3 innings. That's 6 strikeouts in a row. Back to the top of the order. Going out to, I guess, Kmart to get some more Ks. Rockies in a rain delay with the Marlins, but leading 7-0. Mark Johnson finally starting to hit again. The Pirates have a 2-0 lead, working on extending their streak. The Mets and Reds, if that game gets rained out, we'll probably see Bobby Jones.
He'll be rained out right into the Cubs Tuesday night, and that's never any fun.
You see that with Randy Johnson? He and Pedro Martinez will be the dueling storylines. Mark McGwire, he's, as expected, got another home run. Just fouled by Brian McRae. So you've got Randy Johnson right now in Detroit, a no-hitter in the 6th with 11 strikeouts. You've got Martinez here today with a 2-hitter in the 5th. And he's got 12 strikeouts.
Well, Jacques Doucette, the French broadcaster of the Expos, says every day Pedro goes out, he goes out with no-hit stuff. And you can certainly understand that. He's in his 11th start. In the 2 games he lost to the Mets back-to-back, he gave up a grand total of 4 earned runs. And he came in averaging 10 strikeouts per 9 innings.
Well, this is a guy who showed us a little Harvey Haddix 2 years ago. Took a perfect game into extra innings. But unlike Haddix, Martinez actually won that game. El Rojas saved it for him. The strikeout total hangs at 12 as McRae grounds out. But the Cubs still hurting for base runners. We are through half the ball game. The Expos by the slimmest of margins in front. In Montreal with Steve Stone and producer director Arnie Harris, Josh Lewin with you, and thank you very much for joining us. You're watching quite a display. Traxel has been terrific, and Pedro Martinez has been almost indescribable for Montreal. 2 teams combined for 30 strikeouts back in 1986, Seattle and Oakland. We are past that pace today. Santangelo grounds out.
Cub fans, join Turk Wendell, Jim Riggleman, and more on Tuesday, July 8th for All-Star Kids Day at Wrigley Field, brought to you by Fuji and Jewel Osco. Enjoy games and activities on the concourse, an informal clinic with Cub players and coaches, and the experience of a lifetime, as the playing field is open to all attendees. For the first 90 minutes, the gates are open. Everyone attending receives a sports bag filled with souvenirs. Tickets are just $10, so to purchase yours today, call 312-831-CUBS.
Santangelo now 0 for 3 in this one after his heroics yesterday. Steve, we've got Pedro Martinez at 78 pitches right now, and that's through 5 innings. So it's not like it's a low pitch total, but that's because he's going to at least 3 pitches on every batter, striking him out. I don't think anybody except for Mark Grace has put the first ball in play. Grace had the first swing double in the first.
It's the only man who has not fanned against Pedro Martinez.
Into center, that'll be a base hit for Mike Lansing. He's been on base 3 times. Double, a walk, and now a single.
Well, you have to hold him close at first base. Lansing has stolen 7, been caught just 1 time, and due to injuries, this Expo team has only stolen 37 bases. For them, that is most uncharacteristic. This is normally a very fast club, taking advantage of this big ballpark with the artificial surface. But Guerrero's a runner, Rondell White is a runner, and they're both on the shelf.
Double play depth for the Cub infield. But this one popped up. If it stays in play, the Cubs will take that. Mark Grace handles it. Now Traxel's got to go get Darren Fletcher. Fletcher really fought him last time with the bases loaded. Traxel finally disposed of him on a 3-ball 2-strike count. And that fly out back in the first inning hardly tells the story. Brant Brown with an unbelievable diving catch, and well, if the Cubs end up scratching their way back in this game, we'll remember that play that Brant Brown made in the first inning. That kept the game scoreless at the time. Lansing does have 7 stolen bases. Don't forget, tomorrow night, same 2 teams. Wrapping up the series here in Montreal, 6:30 start. Chicago time. Frank Castillo gets the call.
Jeff Juden will be the pitcher for Montreal. Another reclamation project for Felipe Alou, a man who was thought bullpen best. Felipe took him out of the bullpen, put him in the rotation. He's 5-2. But he is the easiest man on the staff to run against, so that might come into play.
Randy Johnson still has a no-hitter through 7. He's got 12 strikeouts. Pedro Martinez has 12 strikeouts today. That's only through 5.
I'm looking for Travis Fryman to break that one up.
Yeah? I wouldn't put money on any lefties in that order. You can't say that Tony Clark's going to do it today. Matter of fact, we're told Tony Clark struck out to end that last inning. I'm feeling pretty good about myself right about now. Traxel's got to feel okay. He's done a good job today, striking out 5. But this has kind of been the story of his season. When he pitches well, the other pitcher seems to steal the spotlight a little bit. To left, and Brant Brown with an easier time of it this time. Doesn't have to dive after this one. Fletcher's retired again. No runs, 1 hit, no errors, and 1 left. And the Cubs have some good hitters coming up. Brown, Grace, and Sosa. They're down by 1.
is strictly prohibited.
Jim Riggleman is hoping that his offense can get it started up. Felipe Alou, meantime, loves the fact that the Expos traded for Pedro Martinez back in 1990, whatever that was, 3, I guess?
93. Lino DeShield.
The Ernie Broglio of his day. What a trade that ended up being for Montreal. And what a day for Pedro Martinez. 12 strikeouts. Though he drops behind Brown. And Brown has done it with the defense today. Look at him robbing Darren Fletcher. Unbelievable catch.
A leadoff walk would look mighty good right about now.
Martinez, with his first year here, he was 11-5. That one twisting, should stay playable anyway. Doug Strange has it. One down in the 6th inning. Well, he was 14-10 the next year was Martinez. 13-10 last year. This year he started out 8-0. No Expo pitcher had ever done that before.
Well, he was in the bullpen with Los Angeles, and they thought because of his slight frame he would be bullpen at best, and that's one of the reasons why they moved him.
Mark Grace, who has only struck out 13 times all year, so this is kind of the acid test for Pedro Martinez. Grace has been on base twice with a double and a walk. On the scoreboard, we're told the Red Sox just put up 9 in the 5th inning. They're now in front of the Indians 9-5. Grace stays alive at 1-2. Mark McGwire is homered. Oakland leads Toronto 7-2. And Steve, you called it weeks ago. Mark McGwire, if he stays healthy, just might sail past Mr. Griffey.
Still a long way to go.
Peeled away. Nice defensive cut by Grace.
Well, he threw him a 95-mile-an-hour fastball away, and then a 95-mile-an-hour fastball in on his hands. And Mark is still up there. Now maybe the changeup away. See if Gracie can take it to left field.
Oh, he tried to, but it ends up foul. Phillies and Pirates are 2-2 in the 6th now. Pirates for the moment in first in the Central. Grzelcyk turning, gets Mark Grace.
Well, Grzelcyk came into this series with 14 errors, but he has played a spectacular shortstop. He made 2 brilliant plays last night, including starting a double play. And this was a fine play up the middle as Grace, bidding for a base hit, waits on the change, takes it right back up the middle like you should, but Grzelcyk there, and he makes the play. Boy, he has been terrific.
Now Sammy, who has struck out twice. Martinez still holding with the 12 strikeouts. That ties a career high that he matched last time out against the Mets. And we should point out he lost that game. Was leading 1-0 until the 8th.
The key to beating the Expos is to get in the bullpen, especially in the middle. Only Anthony Telford has thrown well in the middle for them. Their stopper, Uguer Urbina, has had problems. Lee Smith has had some problems. But unfortunately, the Cubs can't even think about the bullpen, trying to avoid 27 straight scoreless innings, which will be accomplished with one more out here.
Oh, nasty stuff. It's 1-2. This is the 100th big league start that Pedro Martinez is making. And it could be that he marks it with a Career high in strikeouts. He's looking for that right here against Sammy. Got it. 13 strikeouts for Mr. Martinez. It is still 1-0 Montreal. Steve Traxel has pitched a great game too.
Well, if you're wondering, as we were, when was the last time the Cubs had been shut out 3 straight times? It was June 18th, 19th, and 20th at St. Louis in 1968. Nelson Bryles, then a couple of unknowns, Steve Carlton and Bob Gibson, turned the trick 1-0, 4-0, and 1-0. Almost 30 years ago.
'68 was the year of the pitcher, and I think the Cardinals were kind of the headline act for that. Carlton and Gibson.
Gibson had a 1.12 ERA, and a single breaks up the no-hitter. Single by Phil Nevin.
Well, so Randy Johnson had the no-hitter through 7, and he was working on, what, a 12 strikeout day over there? Rodriguez down on strikes, and Traxel quietly, well, he's got a half a dozen strikeouts today. He's allowed only 5 hits.
Henry baffled by the split finger. And Steve Traxel is throwing an excellent game. Unfortunately, he's losing it.
19 strikeouts overall in this game. Now Doug Strange, he's had 2 of them. Strange, a one-time Cub. Also has been a utility man for the Tigers and the Rangers, most recently Seattle. Strange, one of these guys that will endorse without even being asked this coaching staff in Montreal. I guess it all starts with Felipe Alou at the top as the manager, but last year in Seattle playing for Lou Piniella, a little bit different than the easygoing nature of Felipe Alou and a coaching staff that is basically stand-up comedy. And guys like Jim Tracy and Pete McCannon. There's another strike by Traxel. Now the Cubs have that going for them too. They've got a coaching staff, and again, I think it all starts with the manager, Jim Riggleman. Very much under control. Never lost his cool during the early part of the season. And when you're starting 0-14, I think it's kind of comforting to have a guy that shows confidence in the players and says, look, you don't see me flying off the handle, I'm cool. And the message is that everybody should just kind of follow the leader. Another strikeout for Traxel. And Strange has the hat trick, a term that is very much appreciated up here in Montreal.
It's another split finger and another strikeout. Good pitch by Traxel, and Strange, who's a pretty good hitter from the left side, has had nothing but air today.
Now, oddly, the bottom third of this Montreal batting order has been making contact. These guys have not struck out at all. Orsulak, McGuire, and the pitcher, Pedro Martinez. Wow, 20 strikeouts in this game. We're not through 6 innings yet. Another strike from Traxel. Looking ahead to the Cubs' 7th, it'll be Dunston, Hansen, and Sandberg coming up. One and 2 now. The count to Joe Orsulak.
Well, if there is any bright side to the road trip, the ERA has been very good. The hits per 9 innings and strikeouts. But the Cub offense, as you see, averaging 3.3 a game, which is somewhat deceiving because they piled it up in Philadelphia.
Traxel runs it now to 2-2 on Orsulak. Oh, the pitching We mentioned that ERA getting shaved down to close to 4 now. I mean, really for all of May, except for the couple of days that the wind was blowing out at Wrigley. It's been right there. There's a strike on the outside corner, and Traxel strikes out the side. He's got 8 strikeouts today, and he has retired the last 5 Expos he's faced. We will play the 7th. It is still a 1-0 game, a game that has seen 21 strikeouts. Rip and a miss. He's been on base. He singled in the 2nd, but then struck out in the 4th, and there has been very little shame in striking out today because Martinez has been an equal opportunity lender. He's gotten just about everybody. Let's see if Sean can beat this out. Flying down the line. He is saved. Great hustle by Sean.
Well, Pedro just took too much time, and there's a break. I don't know if he realized how fast Dunston can get down the line, but Pedro kind of leisurely went after that one, then took his time when he got to the ball. And that allowed Dunston to beat it out, and now you just about have to try to steal second base. A little easier with the left-hand hitter up there. And watch it again. Watch the nonchalance of Pedro Martinez. Sean hits it off the end of the bat. Pedro gets to it, but he takes his time. And Dunston beats the play.
Hansen slashes one. That's going to be trouble. Gets by Rodriguez, and Sean Dunston races to 3rd. He will be held there as Hansen doubles on the first pitch.
Well, the Cubs' best scoring opportunity in the series. A fastball a little higher than Martinez wanted it, and Dave Hansen slices it into the left field corner.
It'll be
2nd and 3rd, nobody out. Now the bullpen up and going, and it's Kent Bottenfield.
And the Cubs still doubling their pleasure a little bit. They were launching those 2 baggers in Philly. They get a big one here from Hansen. Only his 2nd of the year, and the Cubs looking at a 27-inning scoreless streak. As Bottenfield goes to work in the bullpen, let's see if Sandberg can tie the game.
All you need is a ground ball to the middle infield because they're playing back, conceding the run.
Sandberg had the 9-game hitting streak stopped last night, but he's still hitting in the 240s. Looks like we'll get a pinch runner for Hansen here. Hernandez will go in there. Outfield pretty much straight away for Rhino here. Rhino struck out twice. The on-deck hitter Tyler Houston has struck out twice. You're just looking for some contact from both of these guys. Smashed, and there you have it. We're tied, and Hernandez is coming around. The Cubs have the lead as Sandberg delivers.
RBI's 23 and 24, and the first time the Cubs have dented the plate here north of the border. It's a high fastball. It's out over the plate, and Pedro starting to get things up now, and the Cubs have finally broken through, and they have the lead.
Breaks that scoreless streak at 27, and now they're still threatening. Houston up there, runner on, nobody out. And it looks like we will finally get action in the Montreal bullpen.
And it's Anthony Telford. And I think, is it Dave Veers?
I think so. Nothing in one. The count to Tyler Houston. Well, you'd love a little bit of wiggle room right now. Not to get greedy here. The Cubs have finally gotten into the lead, but super opportunity to build on it here. remember, Pedro Martinez had 12 strikeouts through 4 2/3 innings. But since then, of the last 7 batters he's faced, he's only struck out 1. Runner going. Houston swinging through, but Sandberg has the base.
You have to steal every chance you get. And that's the 79th stolen base against the Expos. Rhino takes off. Pedro has that long, slow delivery, and he practically gives you the stolen base. That's the 4th for Sandberg this year, and he's in scoring position.
And with nobody out, and there it is, 79 times stealing against the Expos. Houston does make some contact. Martinez trying to go to third. Safe the call. Rhino hooked his way in there.
And Felipe Alou doesn't believe the call of Jim Quick, but he was right on the play, and he says that Strange didn't tag him. It's a risky play when you go to third with nobody out in the inning, and Pedro goes to third. The ball beats Sandberg, and usually that means you're out. Boy, I think the Cubs get a great break there.
Unless Strange just never touched him, but the ball was certainly there. You're right.
I guess he had to touch him. The ball was right there waiting for him to slide into it. But Jim Quick saw it the Cubs' way, and there's a huge break.
He got runners at the corners and nobody out.
Well, now we'll see the safety squeeze, I'm sure, which is you don't run, and the worst that happens is you get a sacrifice.
Draxel pulling back, and he's ahead in the count. The Cubs ahead in the game. Ryan Sandberg very much a part of that. His 2 RBI single, then a stolen base, and some more daring base running as he takes third on that fielder's choice. The bunt, and the only play to first. Rhino was not going to chance it coming down the line. You've got second and third, just 1 out now. Ryan McRae, the batter, and he, along with Mark Graves, Steve, those are the 2 guys that have been making contact all day long.
Well, Brian McRae has a lot of history with Pedro Martinez, and it's all been good. So this is a good opportunity, but now the infield forced to come in at all 4 positions.
Well, you figure with Sandberg, your runner at third, a fly ball of any depth might get the job done. The outfielders, though, look like they're poised and ready.
Thing is, there are no arms in the outfield. Santangelo's got the best, and he's in center the farthest away.
Fletcher smothers that one, and suddenly Martinez starting to fall behind people. It's 2-0. First time through the order, Martinez struck out 5. Second time through the order, he struck out 7. The third time through the order, he struck out 1. They're coming home, and Rhino's out.
With the infield in and the contact play on, you're going to get a play at the plate. And Rhino tries to slide around Darren Fletcher. Good pickup here by Lansing. He makes a good solid throw, and no chance for Rhino to get through. They'll isolate on Sandberg. The contact play is on, meaning anything hit, you're coming. And he's out by plenty.
Now it's Brant Brown with 2 out, runners at the corners. Good speed at first with McRae, and Martinez mindful of that, a close play.
I got to believe here you have to run with McRae. Put the pressure on Fletcher, see if he throws through. He probably won't get him anyway. Maybe the Cubs can do to the Expos what the National League has done to the Cubs this year and double steal themselves into a run.
Well, Tyler Houston, ironically, has been behind the plate a couple times when opposing base runners have stolen a home against him. Maybe he can return the favor a little bit.
Well, it's happened to the Cubs 4 times this year, and a 5th if you count that play where Houston was involved, where he vacated the plate and Quentin McCracken scored.
McRae takes off, and Brown sends it out there to right field. That ball is going to drop. Fair ball. 1 run scores. Here comes McRae. And the Cubs tack on 2. Grant Brown, it doubles them in.
Grant's now driven in 10. And the Cubs, who have always had pretty good luck against Pedro Martinez, stayed dormant for 6 innings. But in the 7th, they've turned it on. And Brandt gets a changeup on the hit and run and takes it right down the line. Orsulak doesn't have real good speed, and he had no chance at this one. And now Brandt will leave the game in favor of Doug Glanville now that the Cubs have the 4-1 lead.
And Grant Brown, on a day when he struck out and badly his first 2 trips at the plate, he ends up with a super day anyway, because he sparkled defensively, and he's just come up with a huge 2-out, 2 RBI double. Four-one baseball game. And so all the pent-up frustration of not being able to score for 27 innings comes squirting out all at once here. Ball and a strike to Mark Grace. He is doubled, walked, and bounced out. Martinez looking for his 14th strikeout of the day. But suddenly that's a faded storyline as the Cubs have struck for this 4-run 7th inning. Gracie literally throwing his bat at that one, fouls it away. Good speed out there at second base in Glanville. You'll notice no batting gloves for Mark Grace. Pure and natural.
Mark has always said unless he gets down into 40s, he would prefer to field a bat. And because he has more hits in the 90s than any hitter in baseball, it certainly works.
Runner breaking, and Glanville, unchallenged, steals third base. And everybody's running around like the Olympic relay team here against the Montreal Expos this year.
Well, the Expos throw nobody out. This is the 80th stolen base against them. Fletcher not even an attempt, as Glanville steals third easily. That's his 9th.
Well, they always teach you don't want to make the first out or last out of the inning at third, but heck, when you've got clear sailing, you're not being held on, nobody's paying attention to you, and you're that confident, hey, go ahead. Boy, Grace with a nice at bat here. A lot of 2-strike fouls. Four runs in, and the big hits have come from Sandberg and Brown. And if nothing else, they're exhausting Martinez. He's got to be up and over 100 pitches, don't you think?
Well, this will be the last inning for him, and he knows that. He's due up second in the 7th, and he'll be taken down now, trailing by 3 and possibly 4 if Mark can come through.
Three balls, 2 strikes, a count to him. Sosa would be next. That one up and away. And it looks like Felipe Alou, as the Cubs now have batted around, he's going to come on out. And you would think he's going to make the move. He will for Veers. And Pedro Martinez ends up with 13 strikeouts, and he ends up on line for his third consecutive loss, because the Cubs now have the lead 4-1. Against 13 strikeouts for Pedro Martinez in 6 2/3 innings. Steve, it's great that the Cubs have broken through with the 4, but as they've taken their time in batting around, Steve Traxel, you hope he's not going to be rusty coming back out there in the bottom of the inning.
Well, he can always ask Gary Darling for a few more warm-ups if he feels that this inning had taken a little longer, but Traxel very happy to have the offense, and he's pitched a brilliant game himself.
Yeah, Traxel, matter of fact, struck out the side in the bottom of the 6th. He's got 8 strikeouts for the day. And as well as he has pitched, especially lately, he deserves to scooch that record up from 3 and 5. He's got that shot now today. Sosa down on strikes for the 4th time today, but 4 runs in the inning. Sandberg and Brown had the big hits, and now it's up to Traxel to keep it 4-1.
What do you get when you fly Southwest Airlines? Fun fares.
Well, you've waited so long for a fare to get so nice and low now.
Glanville stays in the game, and he will play left field for the Cubs. Cubs now leading this one 4-1. And Jose Hernandez remains in the game to play third in place of Hansen. Ryan McGuire, last one, looking for his first big league homer. He's got it.
Well, we talked about the long inning for Steve Traxel on the first pitch. Ryan McGuire unloads. It hit the ball very hard in the 4th, chasing Sammy almost back to the track, and this time his first major league homer, his first run batted in, and Phil Regan now has to give Kent Bottenfield a chance to get loose in the pen.
Jose Vidro is going to be announced as a pinch hitter, it looks like. Pitcher's spot in the order coming up. Well, he is 23 behind the other McGuire, who spells it with a W. Ryan McGuire gets his first, and the lead now is down to 4-2. Guy was called up from Ottawa just a few days ago. And speaking of which, Jose Vidro is going to get a chance to hit, and this will be his first major league at bat.
He's out of Puerto Rico, Mayaguez, and he was a 6th-round draft choice in '92.
Was having a fine season down at AAA Ottawa. His job, obviously, just to scratch his way on base, set it up for the top of the order.
Well, Felipe Alou used Dave Veers to get out of that nightmarish 7th for him. And then he'll go to Anthony Telford as Veers pitches a 3rd of an inning with 1 strikeout.
Traxel changing up, and the count now 1-2. Here's Ken Bottenfield getting ready in the Cub bullpen. A one-time Expo. Vidro belts it out there, and Glanville won't get it. Jose Vidro is going to run around for a while. His first major league at bat is a double. And he wants the baseball.
I would have to believe that Steve Traxel has had a pretty long day and a long layoff in that dugout. Not throwing quite the same as two guys have been up and two guys have hit it, and that's going to be it for Traxel.
He gets into but not out of the 7th inning. And with the tying man coming to the plate, and that tying man being F.P. Santangelo, a man who homered twice yesterday, it's Bottenfield coming on the 4-2 game.
Field is in at 1-1, an ERA of 2.95, on for the 25th time. 36 2/3 innings, given up 3 home runs, walked 17. He's fanned 28, and he pitched an inning last night where he walked 1 but got out of it. That was also in the 7th inning. And there you look at some pretty impressive numbers for the former Expo.
It'll be F.P. Santangelo, who has gone 0 for 3 today.
You got Bob Patterson loosening in the pen in case this inning really turns into a tough one, because after Santangelo, you got 2 right-handers, Lansing and Grzelcyk. And then it's Fletcher and Rodriguez, 2 tough left-handers. And that's why Patterson is getting loose.
Runner at second, nobody out. I remember Santangelo was first pitch swinging against a reliever yesterday, Mel Rojas, and out it went.
Well, he's going to be trying to pull the ball here because you have to move Vidro over, try to get the run in to cut the lead. Bottenfield will be trying to keep the ball away from Santangelo to stop him from pulling the ball.
Steve calls it right on the mark, and a strike.
Dunstan's trying to sneak him back at the rookie at second base and maybe use a pickoff play.
Hopped foul, and 1-2. Not a bad crowd, all things considered, here. It is just gorgeous weather here in Montreal. Really the first nice weekend that they've had. So you figured a lot of people would be in their backyards or at the park today, but they're at this park today, a lot of them. Johnson with 15 strikeouts in a 2-0 Mariner win. Wow. Had the no-hitter into the 8th.
27,338 here, and they're making a lot of noise right now.
2 balls, 2 strikes, Bottenfield to Santangelo.
Now, if you've been paying attention, if you're a hitter, you'll realize Gary Darling has been giving 2, 3, maybe 4 inches on the outside corner. So you've got to protect out there. Bottenfield would like to keep one out there, and that'll be the battle between Santangelo and Bottenfield.
Jose Vidro with his first major league hit. He's your runner at second base. Didn't miss by much. It's 3-2.
And odds are Kent will go out there again.
Santangelo, a career .355 hitter against the Cubs. Remember, beat him yesterday with those home runs and that jarring collision at home plate. In the air to left for Glanville. And Bottenfield wins out.
Well, he forced him to hit the ball to left, and that's exactly what you were looking for. Vidro has to stay at second. Real good job of pitching to Santangelo by Bottenfield.
And FP wedges that helmet right back from where it started.
Be careful on the first pitch to Lansing, because he's normally a dead pull hitter and normally loves to jump on the first pitch.
Lansing's been on base 3 times today. Guy with 8 home runs. Felipe Alou is watched as over the last 5 years the Expos have put together the third best record in all of baseball. But they haven't seen the playoffs. Good pitch from Bottenfield. Steve mentioned Bottenfield used to be a part of this somewhat star-crossed franchise here in Montreal. Now Jim Riggleman using him, and using him a lot out of the bullpen. Tying man is at the plate as we play in the last of the 7th. Bottenfield with a fastball by him, and it's 1-2. Well, the two starting pitchers today, Steve, combined for a little more than 12 innings of work, and they struck out 21 between them.
And ironically, neither made it out of the 7th despite throwing excellent ball games.
On 1-2. At the knees, strike 3.
Well, I told you, he's given 2-3 inches outside. The hitters continue to look at it, and the pitchers are going to stay there. And by the 7th inning, you certainly should have adjusted.
What a pretty pitch by Bottenfield, and a nice job of framing it too. Tyler Houston just holds it out there nice and neat, so he's got a good look. So now Grzelcyk will be the tying man in the 7th.
And if Kent doesn't get Mark Grzelcyk, he won't be around to face Fletcher. And Lansing very unhappy with the call.
Grzelcyk singled in a run back in the 3rd. Another nice pitch from Bottenfield. One ball, one strike. And we're looking forward to the finale of this series. We'll have it for you on WGN tomorrow at 6:30. Cubs and the Expos one more time. Frank Castillo against Jeff Juden, who's had a great year. He's 5-2. Cubs ran into a guy today, Pedro Martinez, who came in 8-2. But they chased him with 4 in the 7th inning. Runner at second base. Houston goes out there as he and Bottenfield get together on these sides. Jeff Juden is the guy kind of, well, in the middle there of your picture. Not right in the middle, but there we go. He'll be on the mound tomorrow. Boy, you got to like how Kent Bottenfield has come out against a couple of tough right-hand hitters here, challenging Lansing, challenging Grzelcyk too.
The key at bat, however, was so far the first one at Santangelo when he failed to move Vidra over. That was a real good job of pitching.
Dunston can't get there. A run's going to score. Boy, a 1-2 pitch. And that's why Grzelcyk is such a darn good hitter. A 300 hitter now with that at bat.
RBI number 23 as the Expos have cut the lead. This fastball down the middle. The Cubs lead by 1. And you've got to believe that Bottenfield's not going to be in to face Fletcher.
And just as Steve says it, out comes Jim Riggleman. The lefty will be coming on, Bob Patterson, with 5 lefties in a row due up, but of course some pinch hitting options for Felipe Alou. That'll close the book on Traxel, by the way. The runner on base, the responsibility of Bottenfield now, and it's a 4-3 game in Montreal. We'll be back.
.333 ERA out for the 30th time, and he leads the staff in appearances. Given up 3 home runs in 24 and a third innings. He's walked only 3 and fanned 24. And they're going to leave in Darren Fletcher. They have a right-hand hitting catcher, Chris Widger. But Felipe Alou, the very smart Felipe Alou, knows that the 2 closers for the Cubs are right-handed. And he wants Fletcher in the game for the 9th inning. And that's regardless of the resolution of this at-bat.
Fletcher, the Chicago native, 0 for 3. Though he was robbed in the first inning. Brand Brown with a play that really is standing up and is being a pretty big play right now.
You really have to keep a close eye on Grzelcyk. He's the best base runner they have active. 13 stolen bases. Been caught just twice.
Two balls, no strikes account to Fletcher.
Now Fletcher can turn on left-handers, and that's why on a hitter's count Bob will probably try to stay away, either cut that fastball away from him and make sure he doesn't get it middle in. Fletcher is pretty strong.
Back to the net, 2-1.
Good spot. He kept it up and away.
Let's quickly pause while we have the chance for station identification.
This is America's #1 sports station, WGN-TV, Chicago.
Quite a little ball game today. 4-3 in the bottom of the 7th. The tying man on. A go-ahead man at the plate in Darren Fletcher. And Patterson blows it behind him. It's 2-2.
Now it'll be interesting to see if Grzelcyk does indeed run. Good time if you're Bob Patterson to make your best move to first base. That was not his best one.
That's just a little reminder. I know you're over there. Well, a 2-3 part of this Montreal order. Lansing and Grzelcyk, those 2 guys have been on base 5 times today. There goes Grzelcyk, and a towering pop-up. Sean Dunston takes control, and he has it. That'll do it. And for some reason, Grzelcyk just stopped and watched that one at second base. Had that ball dropped, he would have stayed at second base instead of scoring. Cubs 4, Expos 6 runs in it all totaled, and we've got a 4-3 ball game now heading to the 8th. And a new pitcher out there, Anthony Telford.
Telford has done a nice job. He's 1-0. A great ERA out of the pen at .256, on for the 23rd time. Has given up 4 home runs, however, in 31 2/3 innings, and control has been a problem. 16 walks, just 15 strikeouts.
That opponent's batting average, though, pretty impressive at .204. And he will face Dunston, Hansen, and Sandberg. It's the same trio that led it off in the 7th inning, or excuse me, it'll be Hernandez instead of Hansen. But the 5, 6, 7 part of the order once again. Back to Telford. And there's the first out. Sean pulled up there at first base. I think a hamstring for Sean. Hopefully it just tightened up on him. But Sean looks like he's not in a real good way.
Sean had the day off yesterday after 3 straight games on the artificial surface, and this is the toughest surface if you've had any back or knee problems. And usually when you have back surgery, it will affect the hamstrings, and that's exactly what it looks like happened to Dunston. He pulls up right there.
to Steve Stone, a guy that's had the major back surgery. You'd know about that. You would think it would be Sanchez coming in for him.
No question. Now Terry Mulholland comes out. He's probably the strongest guy on this team, so he wants to see if he needs any help.
Brian McCann and Terry Mulholland will assist Dunston. They'll go back through, and it's a little bit of a walk once you get through that dugout tunnel to get back into the clubhouse. So
Terry did a nice job replacing Jim Riggleman, who would be about 5'6", had he walked Dunston all the way to the locker room.
Here's Hernandez now. Yeah, plus Riggleman wants to be here to watch the rest of this game here. Terry doesn't necessarily have to be out there watching. Tap to third. Doug Strange. And McGuire's on the bag, 2 down.
Here's today's Ameritech Playbook, your link to better communication. With Darren Fletcher up, Brant Brown was fairly shallow and left. He comes flying across, taking at least a 2-base hit, saving a run, which is the difference in this game. And what an effort by Brant Brown. That is as good as you'll see. And that's your Ameritech Playbook.
Brown also had a 2 RBI hit. So did this guy. Ryan Sandberg gave the Cubs the lead last inning.
That was such a big hit for not only Rhino but for the Cubs, because at that point 27 straight scoreless innings. You had second and third, nobody out against one of the toughest right-handers in all of baseball, and Rhino came through, driving in runs number 23 and 24 and putting the Cubs on top.
Two big hits in that inning. Sandberg's was the first. Attacks that one into right center field. That made it 2-1. Cubs at that point.
With McRae running, the double dump down the line. Orsulak can't get to it, and the Cubs put 2 more on the board.
That's how they've got the 4 runs today. Now 1 ball 2 strike count to Sandberg. 2 down in the 8th. Pirates are batting in the bottom of the 9th. The Phillies have the lead there, 3-2. So a chance maybe to gain some ground today.
Nice to see the Phillies hang on. Undoubtedly Ricky Bottalico, their closer in the game.
Second baseman backing up. It's Lansing waiting for it. And that'll do it. Cubs go in order, and now the Expos will come up with Rodriguez, Strange, and Orsulak do. It's still the Cubs 4 and the Expos 3. Last of the 8th coming up. The Chrysler Plymouth game summary. The Cubs with that 4-run 7th and finally on the board after 27 innings of nothing. And now it's just up to the bullpen to make a winner of Steve Traxel. And as well as he pitched, you're really hoping they can do that for him.
And Terry Adams loosening up in the pen.
Lefty to lefty. Patterson deals a strike to Henry Rodriguez. Couple more strikeouts today for Rodriguez. He's got 60 this year, but Sammy Sosa with 4 strikeouts today. He's got 62, so that horse race continues. One and 2 to Rodriguez. It'll be Strange and Orsulak after that.
Well, Orsulak would probably be taken down in favor of maybe Sherman Obando, and that's why Adams is loosened up.
There is action in the Montreal bullpen too. Uget Urbina, who's been closing games, and a fellow that I think we're a little bit familiar with, Lee Smith. very high pop fly. Doug Glanville looking for it. One away. Felipe Alou's ball club trying to stay around in that National League Eastern Division. Not an easy thing to do, simply because the Atlanta Braves are 41-19. They've won 4 in a row.
Doug Strange will turn around. His power side, the left side, but he's been a good hitter as a right-hand hitter this year.
Another pop-up. Ray Sanchez into the game at short for Dunston. And quickly 2 down. And just as Steve forecast, Orsulak had been.
It won't be Obando, however. Or will it?
I think it is going to be
Yes, it will
Sherman.
be.
Yep. See, you can't doubt yourself. As light as you've been this entire road trip, there's Sanchez at short.
And this is usually the time where Riggs would go to Adams. You figure 4 outs to go. Sherman Obando has tremendous power, and that's what Jim Riggleman is going to do. He's also going to make a double switch, I believe, as Hernandez will leave the game. And Adams will come in.
A powerful batter, Sherman Obando, although he's been slumping lately. Terry Adams has been solid pretty much all year. He'll come on, trying to keep it a 4-3 game. We'll have this at bat for you. As Patterson leaves, we'll come back in just a moment. There is the third baseman of the afternoon for the Cubs, Kevin Orie, part of a double switch orchestrated by Jim Riggleman. The man on the mound will be Terry Adams.
Terry Adams at 0-2, 1.48 ERA, on for the 26th time, looking for save number 9. He's yet to allow a home run in 30 1/3 innings. Walking 13, fanning 28. And he's got 4 outs to get.
Obando has mainly been a pinch hitter this year. And the home fans are not impressed because all season here he's only got 1 hit at this stadium. But a powerful right-hand slugger, originally Yankee property. It's been Traxel, Bottenfield, Patterson, and now Terry Adams as the Cubs look to stop that 3-game slide. Another high pop fly, and that's a trifecta. 3 of those in this inning, and that'll do it. Ray Sanchez locks it up, and the Patterson-Adams combo get us to the 9th. It is still Cubs 4 and the Montreal Expos 3.
Chicago Cubs baseball on WGN is brought to you by Southwest Airlines. With fares so low, you have the freedom to go places.
Organization. Jim Riggleman has watched some interesting things today. Steve Traxel had it going on for 6 innings. He struck out 8. Telford fires to get Houston for the first out. Oh, we've seen some fine relief to this point. We saw Pedro Martinez strike out 13 in 6 2/3 innings for Montreal, but I guess for Jim Riggleman, the happiest thing he has seen today is some clutch hitting from Sandberg and Brown.
And it'll be up to Terry Adams, who will be facing 8, 9, and 1 in the 9th inning.
And that's what the Cubs have up here in the 9th. 8-9-1. Kevin Orie batting in that 9th spot in the order, part of that double switch. Lansing to McGuire and 2 quick outs. Well, you were right on talking about Telford. He's been the one guy in middle relief that's been consistent for Montreal.
He's got pretty decent stuff. That was a good pitch to Orie, and he couldn't do anything with it. The bullpen has been a problem spot for Felipe Alou.
Top of the order, Brian McRae. He's had an 0 for 4 today. but he's still hitting around .315 since that 8 out of 68 start to his season. 1 ball, 1 strike to him. Cubs trying to break that 3-game losing streak, and that streak followed a stretch where they were 7-3. Cubs were playing some pretty good ball, but again against teams that you would hope that they would be competing against, the Reds and the Phillies. 2 balls, 2 strikes to McRae. Next homestand, it'll be the Mets coming in, and then the Brewers for the Battle of the Border next weekend. Grzelcyk. Easy inning, and now it's up to Terry Adams. Bottom of the 9th, straight ahead. It is a 4-3 ball game. The Cubs by 1. Terry Adams has a chance to nail it down and get another save. He has been a sparkling part of that Cub bullpen. And is a chance for Adams, not for Mel Rojas in this one. As 8-9-1 in the order gets set.
Get Andy Stankiewicz in the on-deck circle. Felipe Alou is down to Stankiewicz and Widger, the backup catcher, so he can't go to Widger, who's the better hitter. And coming up after the game, the 10th inning featuring the GMC highlights and Josh Lewin.
Well, Terry Adams last year, remember, had that workhorse season, more than 100 innings pitched. Became the first Cubs right-handed reliever to go over 100 innings since the guy we were just talking about, Lee Smith, did it back in '84. Count runs to 2 balls, 2 strikes to Ryan McGuire. He homered his first big league homer last time up.
And it is a final. Philadelphia has defeated Pittsburgh 3-2. So there is some ground to be gained.
Sandberg straightening up. Safe.
Well, it was a long way to go for Rhino to his left. And before he could right the ship, McGuire beats it out. He puts it in a good spot. Sandberg able to get to it, but he has to take too many steps to right himself. And McGuire, with pretty good speed for a first baseman, able to beat it, and he represents a tying run. Now you've got Stankiewicz in a bunt situation.
Stankiewicz, a guy who survived in this game by doing little things like bunting.
Bunting and getting hit by pitches.
Fits in perfectly on this Montreal team, doing whatever it takes.
Maybe he'll pop the bunt up.
That'll be lovely. Ooh, had to swivel out of the way. He almost got both of your items on one play. Bunting and nailed.
Well, this one just misses it. And if you remember, it was in this ballpark against the Cubs when Stankiewicz tried to bunt a ball and it hit him right off his face to carry him off the bat.
This time it bounced off of Tyler Houston instead. 1 ball, 1 strike.
It's real difficult on this surface to lay down a good bunt and get the sacrifice, because you've got to really deaden it, and then you run the risk of the catcher popping out and making the play. And they're charging hard with Ori and Grace at the corners.
That's a hard play too, isn't it? Right around home plate.
Well, everything is hard. You know, this is an old artificial surface, so it's very hard all over. The ball gets to the infielders much more quickly.
He did pop that one foul. It's 1-2. Adams probably not an easy guy to bunt against.
I'm throwing 95. Now Stankiewicz doesn't run real well. He has yet to ground into a double play, but that doesn't mean that he can't. He just hasn't had that many opportunities. Without good speed, a ground ball probably produces 2.
Foul by Ori, and down the line at third we stay at a ball, 2 strikes. Kurt Schilling was the winner, by the way, in that game between the Phillies and the Pirates. Metallico knocked down his 13th save.
Well, there's a surprise, the combination of Schilling and Metallico.
Cubs with a chance to move to within 6 of the first place Pirates. And Stankiewicz down on strikes.
So the inability to lay down a bunt from a team that usually does execute could come back to haunt the Expos. Good slider. Stankiewicz looked like he was trying to hit it out of the park, and he made no contact at all. So now the very tough F.P. Santangelo steps in, but he's been handled today.
That's the last time he'll ever do a leadoff man show with us. Homers twice yesterday, 0 for 4 today, but he represents the winning run. Both the Cardinals and the Astros have first inning leads today. The Cardinals 2-0 over the Dodgers. Astros 3-0 on the Padres. Ripped in left center, that's trouble. Glanville does cut it off. McGuire's being waved around third. Safe.
Glanville did such a great job of cutting that ball off. That ball was going to the wall with anybody else in left field. He got it there, but the relay throw from Ray Sanchez was so wide of the plate, it took Tyler Houston out of position. And a great slide by McGuire allowed him to score. Glanville does an unbelievable job of getting to this ball. Then makes a very good relay throw, a perfect relay throw. But this throw pulls Houston way offline, and a great slide around him ties the game. Steve Kraxel cannot win this one, and F.P. Santangelo has come through again. My, oh my.
He just keeps doing it to the Cubs. And now he represents the winning run. 1 out. Tough hitters up there, Lansing and Grzelcyk.
That play was so well played in left field, both with the cutoff and the relay throw. It's a shame that the other throw wasn't close.
Well, and McGuire with good speed for a first baseman. Most first basemen don't tear around third that quickly.
Very good speed.
4-4 game, bottom of the 9th. Nice stop by Tyler Houston.
Boy, that was a great stop, because that puts the tying run 90 feet away. Then you have to walk Lansing and Grzelcyk and then bring your outfield in. So that was a big play. Could turn out to be a very big play by Tyler Houston.
Snuck it in there. It's 1-1.
Santangelo will run, and sometimes Terry Adams doesn't look back the second time. Santangelo has stolen 5 bases, and as pumped up as he is, you got to pay attention to him at second.
Shot away foul. It's 1-2. Well, Terry Adams, for only the second time this year, fails in a save opportunity.
I just feel bad for Steve Kraxel.